Hello, my name is Jingo Nelly, and today we are going to be looking at another tutorial. But before I begin off, make sure you subscribe to the channel.
We had discussed the differences between public companies and private companies, and we said also that a private company could either be limited or unlimited. Now we need to understand what a limited company is. We normally see maybe MTN Limited, we hardly see MTN Unlimited, but we need to understand what a limited company means. A limited company means a company whose first of all, let's first understand that why some people form companies is because they want to distinguish themselves from that new entity which is separate from them, as we've seen from the definition. So, in essence, if the company does acts which are done by the directors, as we shall see later, when a company does that, it does it on its own, and it's not an act by the members or the shareholders who start off the company. Therefore, with limited liability, it means that just in case the company gets into maybe debt and it fails to pay the debt, with limited liability, it means that the person who demands these monies from the company does not go for the properties of the shareholders, or the shareholders are in no way mandated to pay the debts of the company. Therefore, limited liability means that companies, the people who form the company do not have anything to do with the liability of the company. And conversely, unlimited liability means that in case, of course, with limited means that liability always comes at the time when the company is winding up. Now, winding up, of course, as you will later realize that the company has failed to pay its debts and therefore is no longer a going concern, and it's going to close or to wind up business. Therefore, at that point of winding up, we're saying that under limited liability, the shareholders' assets cannot be attached to pay the debts of the company. And conversely, with unlimited liability, the shareholders, whatever, while you're incorporating the company, the shareholders will outrightly say, for us, we undertake to pay debts of the company to whatever magnitude, for as long as there are any debts at the time of winding up of the company. So that's the difference between limited liability and unlimited liability companies. The thing is, limited liability companies and unlimited liability companies. So a company, whether public or private, may be categorized in respect of the liability ascribed to the members in the different. Now, within limited liability companies, we have different types of companies. For instance, we have a company limited by shares. Therefore, the limited liability is in respect to shares. That's why we are saying it's limited by shares. And we're saying when a company is limited by shares, it is only the member is only limited in liability, only in respect to the shares which he has paid for. Is only limited, and therefore he's protected from paying the debts of the company only to the extent of the shares he has paid for. Therefore, for those shares he has not paid for, that person is liable to pay upon the company winding up and has debt. That's for a company limited by shares. First of all, you need to know that this person, for every company that is incorporated, people will take up shares. That one you will see in raising capital. When people take up shares, you're saying at one point you need to pay for the shares, and some amounts are ascribed to that. So if you have ascribed to 100 shares and the person is required to pay maybe 1,000 per share, and he has only paid for 50 shares, it means at the point of winding up, if the 50 shares remain unpaid, then he or she has got to pay for the remaining 50 shares, and that money will be used to pay for the company's debts. That is company limited by shares. And company limited by guarantee, we are saying that company is limited by guarantee. Here, at the point of incorporation, the members undertake or guarantee that they will pay a certain amount of money to the debtors, rather to the creditors of the company, at the point when the company winds up, and at the point when the company winds up. In this case, therefore, if you have shares, and someone says, I guarantee that at the point of winding up, I'll pay 50 million shillings. Now, there, it does not matter whether the company is indebted to the tune of 100 million shares, for as long as these people have only guaranteed to pay only 50 million, that's all they're going to pay. And that debt is extinguished in respect to both the company and the individual. Then you have unlimited liability. We are saying unlimited liability. Here, the members undertake to pay all the debts of the company upon winding up. So, if the debts are 50 million, the members must pay all the debts to completion. Now, the third category of companies, that is unlimited liability companies, are very rare. They are very rare to catch because no one wants to be there, and you'd rather trade alone other than say, I want to pay all the debts of the company, because normally the affairs of the company might not be executed by the shareholders themselves. So what if someone comes into the company and does manyanga, as we want to call it, and then at the end of the day the shareholders are the ones to pay for it? You can imagine. So not many people would be willing to get into a company of unlimited liability nature. Then we go to C, holding and subsidiary companies. Holding and subsidiary companies are basically companies which could be any of the above. They could take up, it could be a company limited by guarantee, it could be a company limited by shares, or an unlimited company or public company. The difference is that with a holding company, that holding company will have majority ownership in a subsidiary company. Therefore, a subsidiary company is that company that has much of its ownership owned by, let's say, in percentages. So if you say company A has 60% shares in company C, that means company A is a holding company of company C. So the most commonest holding companies are maybe Mekwano group of companies, which has different companies altogether. You have mirror companies, that's Sudil's companies, where you have Crane Bank, you have Crane Management Services, you have maybe Rosebud, where there are flowers, you have Victoria's University, but the holding company of all of those is Mera Investments. So the issue with holding and subsidiary companies lies with who owns majority of the shares and therefore has controlling authority over the other shares, over the other companies. So by virtue in company law, when a company has majority shares, it therefore has a larger controlling powers, because decisions are made according to votes. When you're at an annual general meeting, you have to do votes. So if you have more members coming from the other side, and you're voting maybe by poll or by show of hands for that matter, it means this company has got to have more powers at the AGM. So that's the difference between holding and subsidiary companies. I hope you have looked up them.
Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel.